Hi, everybody. I'm David Asman. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, the president says yes to the Greens and no to a pipeline. And his critics say it's also a big no to jobs. The White House rejecting the Keystone oil pipeline project, and we have an all-star lineup to react to this. House Energy Committee Subcommittee Chairman Cliff Stearns giving his first TV interview on why the decision is going to cost jobs at a time when America needs every one of them. Also joining us, actress Daryl Hannah, whose protests in front of the White House against the pipeline seem to have paid off. And Michael Reagan weighing in on why this decision could cost the job of one American in particular, the president. But first to Cliff Stearns. He is the House Energy and Committee Subcommittee Chairman, joining us now. Cliff Stearns, what do you think of this decision, and how many jobs is it going to cost?
Well, David, just listening to you is one thing that you did mention. It's national security. And because we have so much that we import from other countries, if we were self-sufficient, it would help us on that basis. But I think the key to this whole debate is what has worked in the past and will it work in the future? The president indicated that he wants more time for environmental studies. But think about this. In 1977, we put together the Alaska pipeline that came down. It's been operating for over 40 years. We also have 3,000 miles of pipe around the United States where we're doing the same thing we're doing on Keystone, and yet we've had very good safety regulations and safety conditions. So in the end, I think the president's using politics to stop the Keystone. And as you pointed out, the speaker has talked about the loss of jobs, but I'm also talking about our national security.
I understand. There's a whole lot to chew on in this decision, but let's just focus on jobs for a minute. The fact is that every day that goes on with as many unemployed as we have is more money out of the economy, of course, more suffering for the people unemployed, and more costs to the taxpayer because of all the unemployment costs. So we are in desperate need of more jobs. This would have created, what, at least 20,000 new jobs?
Well, 20,000 and about 100,000 indirect jobs. Plus, we would get the revenues from the states would get the revenues, because once you install the Keystone pipe, they'll pay real estate ad valorem taxes to Nebraska, the Dakotas, and all the states down to Texas. And also, the investment by private investors is about $7 billion. So it's not just the loss of jobs, it's the loss of revenue that could come to the United States. And I think everybody realizes if we had the Keystone pipe in place, the cost of gasoline will come down. And they're talking about gasoline going to about $4 or $5 this summer. So we're just crazy not to go ahead and do this now. All
right, well, it was just yesterday and the day before that the administration was talking up natural gas and talking up their energy policy, saying that they have a positive energy policy. But the Wall Street Journal points out that since 2008, royalties from oil and gas drilling have fallen more than 90%. So it's clear that this administration has been against oil drilling and against gas drilling as well. So the entire energy policy seems to be against new jobs in energy.
Well, they're against fossil fuels. They're against what they appear to say is it's an environmental condition coming from CO2 emissions. But let's face it now, we have a history of safety dealing with pipeline, and Keystone has a history of 3 years study that shows that it's feasible. So why we're holding off is beyond me, and I think the president's making a key decision based upon politics and based upon his environmental, shall we say, cadre he's trying to cater to for the election.
Well, the key is whether the Canadians can hold off much longer. They have been very patient with it so far. They have made feints towards China, saying if the pipeline doesn't happen, we're going to send the stuff to China. But I talked to the head of TransCanada, the pipeline company that wants to build this thing. Russ Gerling is his name, about 2 months ago. And just that recently, he was very positive. Let's play the tape and get your reaction.
I think absolutely it's going to get built. It makes too much sense for this nation, makes too much sense for Canada.
Now, I happen to agree with him, you happen to agree with him, but is it too late? TransCanada came out today saying, we haven't put it off, it's still a possibility this thing could go through. Is he right?
I think he is. You know, Canada is part of the family. And David, I've been up to Alberta, the province of Alberta. I've seen what's called the tar sands, which are really oil sands. I've seen their operation. And they can expand it tremendously if we get the Keystone pipe done, because that will create more demand for them, which means we'll get more oil to refine, which ultimately will bring down the cost. So I think, frankly, the whole idea of national security and jobs, as well as investment, as well as, shall we say, overall family working together is just so important that I can't believe Canada would sell it to China. In fact, to sell it to China, they'd have to ship it off to China by boats, and it's so much easier to do it through the pipe. And as I mentioned, David, we got 3,000 miles of pipe in the United States that shows high safety, and the Trans-Alaska pipeline also has worked since for 40 years. So I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. All right. Well, a lot of these decisions don't make sense. Congressman Cliff Stearns, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.